They're not good enough to start. They're not even good enough to play. But they do talk a good game. So come join Lou and Jose from the sidelines where all the best sports discussions happen anyway. Welcome in to the Benchwarmerz podcast.
Welcome into the program, everyone. I am Lou Ruggieri. That is not Jose Ortiz. And this is the Benchwarmerz podcast. Wherever, whenever, and however you're listening, we appreciate you taking some time out of your day to spend it with us. We are going to try to make it worth your while. This is Season 2, Episode 25, our 75th show overall. Go back and listen to all of our previous shows, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Breaker.audio, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow along, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, at the Benchwarmerz Podcast, at the BW Pod on Twitter, or go to thebenchwarmers.com for all things show related. Please follow, rate, review. We need all the support we can get. A big show coming up. We have to look back on Week 6. We're going to go through our Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is, our sports bets, make some Week 7 picks, and I'm going to play Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break, basically with myself. Maybe I'll pose these questions to Jose next week. In just a second, we're going to go through the extra point, which is every game from Week 6, and we're going to talk each and everything that happened so no team feels left behind, even though maybe some of them should. As you can tell, Jose is not here today. Jose took a somewhat unexpected bye week, which we're entitled to. I'm sure I'll be taking one at some point in the near future. Feeling a little under the weather, so hopefully, Jose, you feel better, get better. I'm going to try to do this on my own. It's not going to sound as good, and it's probably going to be a lot shorter than our normal show. But I'll try to stick it out. Show must go on, and every day's Super Bowl, right? So, Jose, feel better. We will get back to our regularly scheduled programming next week, hopefully. So without further ado, I'm gonna take right off here. And we usually start the show with one big takeaway. And this may be a little cynical, but my one big takeaway from Week 6 is that there's way too much FaceTime and airtime for the referees. The judges, I can't tell you, I watched every game, some in abbreviated fashion, but I watched every game from Week 6. And I'd like to do my research for the show. And I got to tell you, there was, number one, there's just too many flags. I don't know if the refs got together in the offseason and said, hey guys, we need more FaceTime. We need to put our foot down. We need to be more noticed or something. Or I don't know if they're doing TikTok or whatever, but way too much discussion, way too much time lapsed just sitting and waiting for refs to figure out what should essentially, there's so many easy calls. If it's a holding call, you just tell the guy it's holding. He says it's holding. You move back 5 yards and we move on with the game. It seems like every flag there has to be a review and a discussion and a conversation, and then 3 other guys have to come over, and then it's one guy's microphone doesn't work and he's got to keep talking, and it's insanity. How I if I had more time, I would have spent it trying to figure out how much time was wasted just watching referees talk to each other on TV. It was incredible. So that's my big takeaway. I'm sorry it's a little negative, but it just was so distracting and such a pain to watch. It just ruined the flow of so many games. So that's my one big takeaway. So let's go through. It's time for the extra point. I'm just going to jump right in and go through each and every game. I'll give you a quick breakdown and some thoughts. And maybe you'll agree, maybe you'll disagree. You can always hit us up at the Benchwarmerz Podcast on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or at the BW Pod on Twitter. So Week 6 started off with game number 1, Bucks and Eagles. The Bucks won 28-22. This game was a little closer than I thought it should have been. It seemed like the Bucks took their foot off the gas a little bit in the second half, and the Eagles made kind of a comeback. Tom Brady, average game, I guess, with his injured thumb, 297 yards, 2 touchdowns. Leonard Fournette kind of stole the show with Antonio Brown looking like the Antonio Brown of old. Fournette, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. Antonio Brown, 9 receptions, 93 yards, and a touchdown. Antonio Brown quietly turning into a much more talented version of Julian Edelman, it seems like, for Tom Brady. So this game kind of went as expected. Eagles 2-4, the Bucks 5-1. Not a big surprise. I think the only surprise was that the Bucks didn't put up more points on the Eagles. Moving on, let's see. I guess we can jump right into the Cowboys-Patriots. My Dallas Cowboys, as anybody that's listened to any amount of shows in this on this show knows that I have a love-hate relationship with the Cowboys. I was indoctrinated into the Cowboys fandom early on before I knew that living in New Jersey, it's kind of anathema that you can be a Cowboys fan. But by the time I realized that everyone hated the Cowboys in this area, I'm too stubborn and I was too dug in. So it's been a brutal 25 years since our last NFC Championship, never even mind Super Bowl. Cowboys eked this one out. This was a game that I thought was closer than it should have been. The Cowboys almost beat two teams in the same game. Yes, they beat the Patriots 35-29 in overtime, but they also almost beat themselves. Too many stupid penalties. Mike McCarthy apparently doesn't know how to use a clock, and there's no one around him to help him use a clock. It should not have been this close. The Cowboys are a much more talented team, offensively and defensively. Bill Belichick does what Bill Belichick does, and he took away the running game, and he made Dak beat them. And to his credit, and I don't say this very often, but to Dak's credit, he did. He showed up big time. He threw 445 yards, 3 touchdowns. He attempted 51 passes, which is just it's not what you want. But obviously, Belichick does things for a reason, and this game was very close. Trayvon Diggs, he giveth, he taketh away. He had the run back for a touchdown, interception on Mac Jones. Mac Jones comes right back and throws a bomb to Kendrick Bourne, who burned Trayvon Diggs. And so back-to-back. And then finally, CeeDee Lamb put it away in overtime with a little wave goodbye to the... he had 9 receptions, 149 yards, 2 touchdowns to the Patriots defenders as he waltzed into the end zone. Damian Harris looked pretty good for the first time in a while. 18 carries, 101 yards, and a touchdown. Cowboys now 5-1. Patriots 2-4. They're 0-4 at home, which is shocking, honestly. Mac Jones, he's still a rookie. I thought he showed some resolve. He did well. But overall, the Cowboys are a better team top to bottom, and they prove that they can beat you in a multitude of ways. They're on a bye week, and Mike McCarthy better learn how to tell time, and the Cowboys better learn how to keep their hands from holding and just false starts and every other penalty. Just not good. Not good. That's great teams don't beat themselves, and the Cowboys almost lost to a very subpar team right now, and they pulled it out. So a win's a win, but it should not have been as close as it was. Speaking of getting a win, Dolphins, Jaguars in London. Jaguars get their first win of the year, 1-5. The Dolphins drop to 1-5, and it just feels like the disparity. Jaguars, it feels like a positive 1-5, and the Dolphins is just an abysmal 1-5. This was a team on the verge of the playoff, making the playoffs last season, and with Tua, again, I'll give him credit, came back, looked good, 329 yards, 2 touchdowns. He hooked up with Jalen Waddle a couple times. He looked really good, but Trevor Lawrence, Urban Meyer, and James Robinson actually showing up, 17 carries, 73 yards, and touchdown. This game, I'm going to tell you, I called it. I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one. It felt like a game the Jags could win, and they did. Packers over the Bears, 24-14. Packers now 5-1, Bears 3-3. As if you saw the highlights, Aaron Rodgers screaming to the fans, "I still own you," and he proved that is very true. I think he's 22-5 against the Bears in his career, so not a great game for Rodgers. Actually, he had the rushing touchdown, but he only had 195 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, which is good. Devontae Adams continues to just make a case for being the best receiver in the league, and it's crazy to think that I know, you know, and every defense knows that Devontae Adams is getting the ball, and somehow he still can't be stopped. So, not a lot to say. Packers over the Bears as we expected. Bears 3-3, Packers now 5-1, which is a long way away from where they started in that first opening day loss to the Saints when everyone was crushing the Packers. Bengals 34-11 over the Lions. I mean, not much to say here. The Bengals are for real. The Lions are not. Lions now 0-6, the only winless team left in the league. Bengals 4-2, looking exceptional. Jamar Chase proving that he is the best receiver in his draft class. 4 receptions, 97 yards. Joe Burrow, solid, not great. 19 of 29, 271 yards, 3 touchdowns. Joe Mixon, 18 carries, 94 yards. I mean, it's the Lions. Dan Campbell calling out Jared Goff at the end of the game, saying he needs to do more. And honestly, I I think that's everybody, Dan. It's not just Jared. It's the whole team, top to bottom. Lions, I feel bad for the Lions. They need an exorcism or something in that city. They have to get. They keep starting over, and ending up right back where they were the last time. So, good luck to them. It's not looking good. Texans. Speaking of bad, Texans lose to the Colts 31-3. The Colts ascend, I guess you could say, to 2-4. The Texans 1-5. Again, not much to say here. The Colts. Carson Wentz, Carson Wentz looking like the Carson Wentz of old. Jonathan Taylor, unbelievable game. 14 carries, 145 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Brandon Cooks, the lone highlight for the Texans. 9 receptions, 89 yards. Please, I'm going to start the free Brandon Cooks campaign. Brandon Cooks needs to go to either the Ravens or the Packers. Just somewhere. He's putting up great numbers and no one knows and no one cares because it's just on such a terrible team. And he's so talented and he's been trying and doing really well. But please, Ravens, give up whatever you need to give up for Brandon Cooks. Packers, give up whatever you need for Brandon Cooks. Just go get him. I don't know what you're waiting for. Another kind of whatever game. The Rams in what was essentially a scrimmage over the New York Giants. The Rams 38, the Giants 11. The Rams are now 5-1. The Giants are 1-5, and they looked like their respective records. It was not good. Matthew Stafford, 22-28, 251 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Cooper Kupp just eviscerating a very sad Giants defense. 9 receptions, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And just as a side note, I watched this game, and Leonard Williams, I think he's a defensive tackle for the Giants. I get it. He had a good game. He played well. He got to Matt Stafford a couple times, but he's celebrating like he won the Super Bowl after a sack, and it's like, dude, pay attention to what the score is, man. You just scoreboard. I mean, you have to kind of, I get it, you're doing well, but understand where you are in the game, and let's maybe, I don't know, go play offensive tackle or fullback or something. It wasn't good. Chiefs get themselves right. They're now at 3-3. They win 31-13 over the now 2-4 Washington football team. Again, this game kind of felt like what it was supposed to be. Travis Kelce, big time, 8 receptions, 99 yards. Patrick Mahomes, 397 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had an awful interception where he could not give up on a play, and he was trying to throw it and just couldn't. He just couldn't do it. I don't know what he was thinking, what he was doing, but it was not pretty. But overall, Darrell Williams filled in admirably for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's still injured. 21 carries, 62 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Washington, I mean, they're okay. Taylor Heineke looks okay. They have some good skill position players. McLaurin's good. Gibson's good, except he was out. So J.D. McKissick, former Seahawks and I think he's been on like 3 or 4 other teams, look serviceable in his fill-in, but just not enough. Chiefs just dominating performance like we come to expect in what was a thrilling, actually a really good game that I don't think anyone really knew. The Vikings beat the Panthers in overtime, 34-28. Kirk Cousins showing up, 373 yards, 3 touchdowns. Dalvin Cook back in action and making up for lost time, 29 carries, 140 yards, and a touchdown. Adam Thielen, 11 receptions, 126 yards, and a touchdown. The Panthers they're performing admirably. Sam Darnold looks like he's getting better. The Vikings, it's tough to tell what's going on with the Vikings because they have so much talent on offense, and their defense isn't that bad. It just feels like every game the Vikings are in is in overtime. It feels like it comes down to a last-second field goal in every game that they're in. And this was a pretty evenly matched game. Obviously, no Christian McCaffrey again. Everyone thought that he was starting, and he ends up going on IR, I think, the day before the game. So he's out for at least another 3 weeks. And Chuba Hubbard admirably filled in. He looked good. And DJ Moore is a legit number 1 receiver. It's just not enough against the Vikings. A couple more games here. The Chargers, I don't even know what to say about this game. The Chargers just forgot to show up, I guess. They lose 34-6 to the Baltimore Ravens. Chargers now 4-2. Ravens 5-1. If anybody thinks that football is not an emotional game, just look at this game. So the Chargers in that thrilling win over the Browns last week. Just that college football game-esque feel, touchdown. I think they scored 26 points in the fourth quarter alone last week, and they didn't even get off the plane. They scored one touchdown and missed the extra point. That's where the 6 comes from. And the Ravens at home just have some kind of magic. Whatever the Detroit Lions don't have, the Ravens have. If you remember early in the offseason, they had, I think, 2 guys go down with ACL tears in the same practice. They've lost just everybody in their running back room, and they've, to their credit, they've amassed a Pro Bowl lineup of running backs from, I don't know, about 2015 or so. Le'Veon Bell, Devontae Freeman, Latavius Murray all look good. Mark Andrews continues to just make his case for one of the best tight ends in the league. And Lamar Jackson just, I don't know, he just does it. He just has some kind of magic that he turns on, and it's something else. Speaking of the Browns, they also got just shellacked. And both teams without a significant piece of their team. The Cardinals without Cliff Kingsbury. He was on a COVID reserve list. He came down with COVID over the week and was not able to participate and play. The Browns lost Nick Chubb, and during the game, they also lost Kareem Hunt. So we'll see how that goes a little later in the week. And it just goes to show that the players play the game, not the coaches. And the Cardinals looked like they didn't miss a beat. They won 37-14 over the Browns, who put up 14 points in the second quarter and scored nothing in the other 3 quarters. Cardinals are there now. They're 6-0. They're the only undefeated team in the league. The Browns 3-3. I mean, hopefully Nick Chubb comes back. Hopefully Kareem Hunt comes back. They have a short week. Baker Mayfield, torn labrum, was in a sling after the game. Not looking good. The one bright spot, Donovan Peoples-Jones, putting the team on his back, 4 receptions, 101 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And this game, it goes Odell Beckham. I feel the same way about Odell Beckham as I do for Brandon Cooks, but in a different light. Beckham, whatever it is, it's not working. It's just not working. He should be fine. They needed him in this game, and he dropped a couple clutch passes that, the Beckham of 2014 would not have dropped. And it just, whatever it is, it's not working on the Browns, and either he should request a trade or they should try to trade him. And again, I'll go back to the Ravens or the Packers. Make a case. Get him. Go get the Seahawks. Just put him on that team and let him shine, because the Browns, it's just not working. So let's let the Odell Beckham experiment go, get Jarvis Landry back, and hopefully Nick Chubb come back, and maybe they'll continue on the winning streak that we saw them on early in the year. Raiders Broncos, I mean, it's nice to see the Raiders show up offensively without, first week without John Gruden. 4-2. They won 34-24 over the now 3-3 Broncos. Good game. Not great. It's kind of a division game. Raiders now sitting high up. The Broncos kind of falling back down to that 500 level. They play the Cleveland Browns on Thursday, so that should be probably a better game than most people think. Seahawks-Steelers played Sunday night, and there's not much to say about this game. The Steelers won 23-20 in another overtime game. The Seahawks now 2-4, their worst start in years. Steelers 3-3, and if anybody was curious, the end of this game proved why Geno Smith is a terrible player and TJ Watt is the highest paid defensive player in the league. TJ Watt causing a fumble for Geno Smith, which led to the Chris Boswell field goal to win in overtime for the Steelers. And I mean, this game should not have been as close as it was. Geno Smith is a backup for a reason, and it's not good. Finally, Monday Night Football. Bills losing in a stunner to the Titans, 34-31. The Titans now 4-2. The Bills also 4-2, and they feel like decidedly different 4-2 records. Josh Allen did what he could, 35-47, 353 yards and 3 touchdowns, but King Henry, 20 carries, 143 yards, 3 touchdowns. It was nice to see A.J. Brown back in action, 7 receptions, 91 yards. Julio Jones made it just an unbelievable catch. If you haven't seen the highlights, go back and look it up. It was that Super Bowl-esque from the Patriots-Falcons game, and I'm sure most people don't remember that game, that catch he made in that Super Bowl, because obviously the 28-3 loss comeback by the Patriots kind of overshadowed his magnificent catch in that game. But this one, he had a close second in terms of just highlight reel catches. The Bills, I mean, they have a bye week. Maybe they were looking past the Titans. I don't know what to make of the Titans. Derrick Henry's just a monster. And the Bills, I mean, it's a long season. Both teams are 4-2, so we'll see what happens moving forward. This may just be a blip on the radar, and much like the Steelers' loss in Week 1 for the Bills. Titans, I mean, they to their motto says, that I think is kind of dumb, but they tightened up and they showed up. They put up points. Ryan Tannehill, 0 sacks. He's been the most sacked quarterback in the league this year so far, but 0 sacks against a vaunted Bills defense. So very surprising. And that's the Falcons, Saints, Jets, and 49ers were all on bye this week. So that is the extra point. I'm going to take a break, and we're going to come back in just a few minutes. We're going to go through Week 7. We have to go through our Week 6 look back. Jose sent me his picks for Week 7 and the stats for Week 6, so I'll update you on those. I'm going to throw some statements out at you. I'm going to throw 2 statements out at you, playing Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break. You can respond if you'd like at the BW Pod on Twitter or the Benchwarmers Podcast, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Follow us along. So stick around. We're going to come right back on the Benchwarmers Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Benchwarmers Podcast. Follow along with us on the Benchwarmers Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to review us on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts.
If you're sick with COVID-19 or think you might have it, take steps to help protect other people from getting sick. Stay home except to get medical care. Call the doctor before visiting. Separate yourself from others who live with you. Wear a cloth face covering to protect others. Cover your coughs and sneezes with a tissue and clean your hands right away. Avoid sharing items with other people in your home. This includes things like towels and bedding. Be sure dishes are washed in hot water or the dishwasher before anyone else uses them. Stay aware of how you feel. If you start to have difficulty breathing or if you're worried about your health, call your doctor. For more tips, visit cdc.gov.
Welcome back to the Benchwarmers Podcast, where being all talk is actually a good thing. Now, back to the action. Or talk, I guess.
Welcome back to the program, already in progress. Jose taking his bye week this week. This is Season 2, Episode 25, our 75th show overall. Go back and listen to all of our previous shows, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Anchor, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow along, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, at The Benchwarmers Podcast, at the BW Pod on Twitter, or go to thebenchwarmers.com, Benchwarmers with a Z. Please follow, rate, review. We need all the support we can get. Like I said, the show is already in progress. Just went through each and every game from Week 6. Gave you some news, notes, takes on each of those. In just a second, we're going to go to Week 7, and I'm going to give you some picks for both Jose and myself. Jose emailed me his picks, even though he's feeling a little under the weather. He was able to make sure that he can get in so we can continue our bet for the year. Gentleman's bet. We may have dinner or something. We'll see. But first, I want to play Make No Mistake or Give Me a Break. This is usually a segment where Jose and myself make a couple statements, and it's essentially a true-false idea, where I'll make a statement and Jose will respond, make no mistake, as in that's absolutely true, or give me a break. That's ridiculous. But Jose's not here, so I will pose these questions to him perhaps next week. I'm sure that they're still going to be valid. You can reply if you'd like on all the aforementioned social media. Feel free. The Benchwarmers Podcast at yahoo.com if anyone still uses email for communication in that sense. So here we go. I'll answer them, and you can think about your answer, I guess, and I'll look forward to it. So, number 1, Jalen Hurts is not the answer for Philadelphia. Now, this comes on the heels of the loss to the Bucs, and granted, defending Super Bowl champions, I don't know what the expectations were for the Eagles this year. They weren't very high. I'm going to say give me a break, only because Jalen Hurts, I think he has too much on his plate right now already. And Nick Sirianni, he's a kind of out of the blue rookie coach. I don't know if he's the answer. And honestly, their running game, I get that the Bucs have a good run defense, but Miles Sanders, I think, had 9 carries in that game. They're asking too much of Jalen Hurts too soon. He's still so young. I mean, he has only started 15 games, maybe, something like that. Not a lot. So give the kid a break and give him some time. I think he needs a little bit of help, especially from the running game and the defense. Second one, the Ravens are a legit contender. And every week up until this last week, I would have said, give me a break. That sounds ridiculous. But after just throttling the surging Chargers, I don't have a choice. I have to say, make no mistake. I don't know what it is, how they're doing it. Lamar Jackson has some magic. John Harbaugh has them playing. Their defense just came out and showed up. And if they're at home, it just feels like they're a different team. They kind of feel like they still embody that Ray Lewis mentality where just, we're home, this is our house, and you're not going to beat us. I don't know how they do it, smoke and mirrors, but so far the Ravens look legit. So that's make no mistake or give me a break. We're going to look back. I have to look back on week 6. Jose and myself, let's see. We put your money where your mouth is. We do a sports bet. We put our money where our mouth is. We take a money line or the points, I should say. Jose took the Bucks versus the Eagles. The Bucks giving 7 to the Eagles. Jose did not cover, which was a heartbreaker at the end there. Jose is 2-4 overall. I took the Rams minus 10.5, gigantic spread at the Giants. But like I said, this is it was a bit of a scrimmage, so I covered easily. I'm now 3-3 overall. This week, for Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is, week's number 7, Jose has decided to take the Falcons minus 2.5 at the Dolphins. So he's giving 2.5, and that's not a bad bet. Although the Falcons, it's a little dangerous because both of those teams are questionable in their performance. I am taking the Patriots minus 6.5 at home to the New York Football Jets. I think the Patriots are going to be surging after nearly beating the Cowboys. They're going to be a little angry, and they're going to want to show up and take it on somebody, and who better than the whipping boy of the AFC East, the New York Jets. I think Bill Belichick just, once again, just makes a mockery of Zach Wilson, and it's going to be, I think this is going to be a pretty lopsided game very early on. Our Week 6 picks overall, we both, Jose and myself, went 10-4. I think that's pretty good. I will say I made a bet on, oh, by the way, Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is, courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook, where we get all our points. Very good. I also made a parlay bet, a 9-team parlay. Just for the record, I also used DraftKings Sportsbook for that. I made a $5 wager, and I won $215. So good for me. I used a lot of the games that I went 10-4 with. So overall, Jose, 58-36. I am one game behind at 57-37. And so it's going to come down to the wire, as it seems like it always does. On to week number 7. Jose emailed me his picks. I'm going to give you my picks right now. So stay tuned for that. Let's see. We're going to start right off with the Browns at home to the Broncos on Thursday night. Jose is taking the Browns. This game, I think I'm taking the Broncos. I really do. I don't. Am I taking the Broncos? You know what? I'm gonna come back to that one. I'm gonna pass and come back because the Browns are hurting. They are. I don't know. Jarvis Landry might play, but Baker Mayfield has the torn labrum. Nick Chubb is still out. It looks like Beckham is a shell of his former self. Kareem Hunt with the calf injury. You know what? I'm taking the Broncos. I'm taking the Broncos. Give me, as Jose calls them, Teddy touchdowns. I think the Browns defense is good, but they can only do so much. I think the Broncos defense wins this game for them. Panthers at Giants. Jose taking a gutsy call here. Taking the Giants. Give me the Panthers all day. I think this is going to be a not good. The Giants just are not good. And it's a shame because they do have talent on that roster, but Saquon Barkley, I hate to say it, he has so much talent, and he just looks like he's going to end up being a bust. That ankle, his ankle ballooned up like a cantaloupe after stepping on someone else's foot last week. Daniel Jones, I don't think he's the guy. He feels like he's a more athletic Eli Manning without that clutch gene that Eli showed up with every now and then. Just not good. Giants, I think it's time to start thinking about blowing it up. So give me the Panthers. Jets at Patriots. Well, I took the Patriots giving 6.5, so I'm going to take the Patriots again, straight up. Not much more to say about that. Chiefs at Titans. This game, man, I don't know what to say about this game because the Titans just came off again a stunning win against the Bills, and the Bills beat the Chiefs, but transitive property doesn't really work in the NFL. So I'm not falling for it. I'm going to take the Chiefs. I think they're starting to get on a roll, and I think that they know that they still kind of own the Titans, even in Tennessee. So give me the Chiefs. I think Tyreek Hill goes crazy. Travis Kelce, it does what Travis Kelce does, and Patrick Mahomes will make up for that awful interception last week. Falcons at Dolphins. Jose is taking the Falcons. Some bad teams right here. These are some bad teams. I don't know. The Dolphins, it's so hard to say. The Dolphins lost to the Jags, and I'm not sure why. It's just a bad game. Their defense, not great. I think I'm going to take the Dolphins at home. They're going to want to avenge that loss, and they're going to want to make up for it. And the Falcons, I don't know what to believe with the Falcons. Their defense is not great. Their offense can be spectacular at times, but it's just so inconsistent. I'll take the Dolphins at home. Ravens at home to the Bengals. I am probably not going to take a game against the Ravens at home for the rest of the year. Give me the Ravens at home, even though I think the Bengals, if I were to, this game, I'm tempted. I really am. This is the game I might flip, but right now it's hard for me to take anybody against the Ravens if they're in Baltimore. Lions at Rams. I mean, this is not the Jared Goff revenge game is not to be. I think the Rams just eviscerate the Lions, unfortunately, and the Lions just are going to continue to just not be very good. Eagles at Raiders. Jose is taking the Eagles. Oh, by the way, Jose is also taking the Rams because he's not an idiot. He knows a good team when he sees one. So I think that's an easy call. Eagles at Raiders. I'm gonna go Raiders on this one. I think the Raiders have a renewed sense of self. I don't know what it was. Maybe without John Gruden, they have something to fight for. They got Henry Ruggs involved in the game. Darren Waller looked better. Derek Carr, looked better. I think the Raiders at home are going to beat the Eagles. I do. Texans at Cardinals. I mean, I feel like we should give points to the Texans here. I think this game's going to be closer than we think, but give me the Cardinals. I don't think it's particularly close. I think the Cardinals continue to be undefeated. Sunday Night Football, Colts at 49ers. Jose taking the 49ers. Oh boy. Which team is going to show up? Is Carson Wentz going to show up? Is T.Y. Hilton going to be okay? He hurt his quad even after his spectacular revival tour in that last game. The 49ers, their pass defense is not good. Their run game, I'm going to go 49ers because I think that Kyle Shanahan will figure something out. And the Colts defense is good, not great. And I think Kyle Shanahan's a special enough coach where he'll figure out a way to make it work. Finally, Saints at Seahawks, Monday Night Football. The Seahawks just love being in primetime with a bad team. It has to be the Saints. This is not good. Geno Smith is Geno Smith, and I think that's really all there is to say about that. Not Teddy Bridgewater. I don't know why I keep thinking Teddy Bridgewater is still on the Saints. He's not. Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston could have a big game against a very bad Seahawks defense, even though I think Jamal Adams could get in his face a little bit and disrupt some passes, but not enough. I think the Saints have too much talent. Alvin Kamara just goes crazy. On bye, the Bills, Chargers, my Dallas Cowboys, Jaguars, Steelers, and Vikings all on bye. So they will have a week to kind of get things together and recoup. So yeah, a little shorter show than usual. It went by pretty quickly. Again, this was Season 2, Episode 25. Go back and listen to each and every episode if you like. iHeartRadio, Amazon, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Breaker.audio, or wherever you get your podcasts. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, at The Benchwarmerz Podcast, at The BW Pod on Twitter. Follow, rate, review, please, and thank you. Or go to thebenchwarmers.com for all things show-related. That's going to do it. So, even though he's not here, for Jose Ortiz, I'm Lou Ruggieri, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.